please kindly silence your mobile phones to ensure the event runs smoothly. We'll begin shortly.
Yes. We also invite everyone outside the conference room to enter and take their seats as the event will be beginning shortly. In the meantime, please continue to enjoy the videos that were submitted by the Indonesian youth who participated in last year's Hello China video competition.
Kan kita temenan terus.
Yo teman-teman, dengerin cerita tentang KCIC inovasi yang nyata Indonesia-China.
Do you see someone there? Yeah, that's me. Waiting for a bus with a flat face.
Transjakarta itu transportasi umum di wilayah Jakarta yang menggunakan sistem BRT atau bus rapid transit.
Tiongkok menunjukkan keseriusannya pada pengembangan teknologi antariksa.
Putri Chempo Power Plant, located in Seoul City, officially operating on October 30, 2023.
Proyek bersama untuk mengurangi polusi air dan udara serta pengembangan energi terbarukan telah dilakukan.
Seperti kota Shenzhen dengan menghadirkan banyak pilihan moda transportasi cerdas dan ramah lingkungan.
我是孤独背包客德贵，喜欢通过旅行来体验和感受中国文化。
Ini cerita kerjasama dua negara, Republik Rakyat Tiongkok dan Indonesia.
HP terus, main game terus. Bunda nggak tahu kalau aku ini lagi menjalankan pepatah terkenal.
Mentang-mentang libur sekolah, game terus.
Keluarga aku juga termasuk Tionghoa Benteng. Kalau kumpul ya kami berbaur.
Each of these tradition has a deep meaning, especially for the Indonesian Chinese community.
Carilah ilmu sampai ke negeri China hanya sebatas analogi saja. Saat inilah ungkapan itu benar-benar bermakna.
Pengadaan program-program yang mampu mengenalkan film di kedua negara tersebut secara khusus.
Chinese Indonesian descent, whom we affectionately refer to as Cindo.
Banyak budaya sudah jadi tradisi. Penasaran kenapa? Kita bahas aja.
我要带大家了解一下中国的一些技术和创新方面有哪些呢？
Bus adalah wujud nyata kolaborasi Indonesia-China dan jadi kereta cepat pertama di Asia Tenggara.
Together like the KCIC project, revolutionizing travel and boosting economies.
Their relationship just kept on growing. In any friendship, trust is key.
Hello, 你好。
你好。
China through my eyes is truly Asian value.
Pemerintah Tiongkok memberikan beasiswa 100% bagi pelajar Indonesia.
Inovasi-inovasi dari Tiongkok membantu mempercepat perkembangan teknologi di berbagai negara.
为了追逐这个梦想，我决定来中国留学。
Bisa dibilang kami cukup akrab. Hari terakhir sebelum pindah kota, kami meluangkan waktu untuk masak bersama.
I cooked Indonesian food for them and challenged them to try it. Too spicy, I guess.
Dimsum juga telah menyentuh hati orang-orang di berbagai belahan dunia.
Perut kenyang, hati pun senang. Kalau sudah senang, jangan lupa sembahyang.
Sebagai kekuatan ekonomi global yang tak terbantahkan, telah menunjukkan komitmen dan dedikasi yang kuat.
Investasi China, bakal raja di raja. Indonesia hijau, energi masa depan kita.
Barulah di akhir abad ke-20, momentum transformasi ekonomi Tiongkok benar-benar terjadi.
Kenalin, aku Barong Bali.
Dan aku Barongsai.
Apa yang kau tabur, itulah yang nantinya dituai. Keyakinanku kini menebal.
Dalam hal akulturasi busana, kita antara lain mengenal batik lasem, baju setting, dan kebaya encim.
Di mana batik bermotif ragam hias Tionghoa dibuat di dekat komplek masjid berabad-abad.
Kerjasama bilateral berhasil membangun peningkatan ekonomi di kedua negara.
Kasih tahu dulu kenapa Tiongkok jadi besi terbaik Indonesia. Oke?
Di setiap gigitan, kue bulan mengingatkan kita pentingnya kebahagiaan bersama keluarga, kerabat, kawan.
Ada kata-kata dalam bahasa Indonesia yang kamu sukain nggak?
Ada.
Apa?
Cinta.
Apa yang kalian pikirkan saat aku menyebutkan kata China? Budayanya, arsitekturnya, tradisinya, atau sejarahnya? Bener sih, tapi itu dulu. Sekarang,
Ladies and
kita akan
gentlemen,
bahas
we
ini.
invite everyone to please
Made in
stand
China.
and welcome His Excellency Mr. Liu Jianchao, Minister of the International Department of the CPC Central Committee.
We would also like to welcome His Excellency Wang Lutong, Ambassador of China to Indonesia, Her Excellency Liu Jianchao, Ambassador of China to ASEAN, and Dr. Dinopati Jalal, Founder and Chairman of Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia.
We also welcome the distinguished members of the high-ranking delegation of the CPC Central Committee.
Also, warm welcome to all the participants, diplomatic corps, fellows, colleagues, students, and everyone here.
Please be seated. Excellencies, ambassadors,
distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Cindy.
And my name is Jenny.
And we will be the master of ceremonies for today's event.
I hope everybody is doing well and staying in high spirits this Saturday morning. Welcome to today's special event in conversation with His Excellency Liu Jianchao, Asia's Future and 75 Years of Indonesia-China Ties.
Ladies and gentlemen, Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia and the Embassy of the People's Republic of China are pleased to have His Excellency Mr. Liu Jianchao, Minister of the International Department of the CPC Central Committee, with us today to share his views on the future of Asia and the long-standing ties between Indonesia and China, which have flourished for over 75 years.
Throughout the past 75 years, Indonesia-China relations have grown to become a robust relationship. Not without challenges, Indonesia and China have maintained steadfast commitment to pursue stronger and fruitful partnership.
Before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy the following video profile of Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia.
Terdiam, ku melihat sadarku bertahun bersama terwujudlah terbayang yang terindah yang terhampar berlalulah sadarku semuanya perasaan rasa cinta kau yang diinginkan aku dari mimpiku coba terbangkan hayalku dari sadarku. Terbayang yang terindah, yang terhampar berlalulah sadarku semuanya perasaan rasa cinta kau yang diinginkan aku dari mimpiku, oh. Coba terbangkan khayalku dari sadarku.
Ladies and gentlemen, to start our dialogue today, we invite the co-host of today's event, founder and chairman of Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia, Dr. Dino Patijalal. Pak Dino, the floor is yours.
Everybody, I'm Dino Patijalal, founder and chairman of Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia. I'm very pleased to welcome all of you on a Saturday morning, right? And Minister Liu, it's not often that you have this big a turnout on a Saturday morning. I think some of the ambassadors had trouble explaining this to their wives. I think Mario, you had to explain this. Your wife thought you were playing golf, right? So, but I would like to welcome Minister Liu Jianchao, and more specifically, welcome back to Indonesia. You've been part of our family for so long, and we are happy to see that you are doing greater things and going to higher places. So welcome back. Let's give a big hand to Minister Liu Jianchao. I also want to recognize Ambassador Wang Lutong, the bilateral ambassador of China to Indonesia. May I ask you to stand up to be recognized here? Also, China's permanent representative Ho Yanqi to ASEAN. Yes. And then Ibu Mari Elka Pangestu, you can stand up. The Vice Chair of National Economic Council of Republic Indonesia. You got too many jobs. I don't want to say them one by one. It will take 1 hour. And also Ambassador Najib and Ambassador Iwan, who are senior fellows of FPCI. Also want to welcome all the ambassadors who are here. I cannot say your name one by one. All members of the CPC delegation. I see, is that Najwa? Oh, sorry, from Emirates, sorry. So everybody, thank you for coming here. We are going to listen to a speech by Minister Liu, and then I'm going to go into a Q&A with him, and then after that, we will go into open discussions with the audience. Nothing is scripted, so you can ask any question you want. And we very much appreciate your coming here, Mr. Liu. But before I invite you to the podium, let me just mention the CV of Minister Liu. He's now Minister for International Department of the Communist Party of China, Central Committee since 2022. He joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 1986, actually the same year as I did, yeah? Except that I'm now retired for 10 years. Yeah? And you were a Chinese ambassador to the Philippines from 2009 to 2012, Chinese ambassador to Indonesia from 2012 to 2014, yeah. Director General of the Information Department of China's Foreign Ministry in 2015. And then he became the Deputy Director of the Office of Central Commission of Foreign Affairs in 2018 and started to work as Secretary of the CPC Committee of the office in May the same year. He is also currently a delegate to the 19th and 20th CPC National Congress, a member of 19th CPC Central Commission for Discipline Inspection, a member of the 20th CPC Central Committee, and a deputy to the 13th National People's Congress. So let's give a big round of applause for Mr. Liu. I invite you to the podium to give your speech.
Chairman Dr. Dino, dear colleagues and friends. Yes, I start by offering apologies to the audience as you have to come here during a weekend. And to tell you the truth, when I was ambassador to Indonesia from 2012 to 2014, Sunday morning is the time I'm at the golf course. But today is truly a delight to be back here in Jakarta when the new year just started. I would like to thank the foreign policy community of Indonesia for inviting me to speak here to this wonderful audience. 10 years on, the FPCI, under the stewardship of Chairman Dino, has grown into a well-known and frequently quoted think tank in the region and become a source of the voice of Asia. And I particularly enjoy the logo with the letter I as a candle. So this think tank is really lighting up the minds of the people in Asia and across the world. Actually, I got to know Dino by video speech by him when he was ambassador to the United States. Before then, we really didn't really have a chance to meet each other. So when during that speech, he was talking about the Asian way, the Asian values, and that impressed me so much with how he explained the Asian values. And also, what impressed me most was a great sense of humor. So it's really great to see you, today here. 2 weeks ago, we celebrated the arrival of the year 2025. On social media, I saw President Prabowo Subianto celebrating the new year with the Indonesian people in the streets of Jakarta, with a lot of cheers and smiles. The Indonesian people, they know that they have so much to expect from the new year. But not all the peoples in the world really enjoy such joy, happiness, and peace. Many of them, instead, are mired in turmoil, conflict, and bloodshed. In 2024 alone, over 233,000 lives perished in the flames of war in the world, and 730 million people were suffering from hunger. It is fair to say that we, the people in Asia, are more fortunate. Ever since World War II, Asia has by and large remained peaceful and stable, moving towards prosperity through hard work. A large part of this is that we, the people in Asia, have found a development path based on Asian values, which are independence, mutual respect, equality and consensus, openness, and inclusiveness. Thanks to this, we are gradually turning the Asian century from a dream to reality. In this turbulent world full of instability and uncertainty, we must stay on this path, stay the Asian's way. To stay on this path, we must do everything we can to maintain peace and stability. Peace, like air and sunshine, is hardly noticed when people are enjoying it. But none of us can live without it. The Ukraine crisis and the Palestinian-Israeli conflict are constant reminders that peace is fragile and war destructive. We in Asia must do whatever we can to avoid war and chaos. We did in the past and we can do it in the future, thanks to our distinctive Asian way of interaction, which highlights mutual respect, consensus building, and accommodating each other's comfort level. We Chinese believe there is always a better way of solving a problem. The Asian way works because it prioritizes consultation and dialogue among countries as equals, regardless of their size and strength, and strives to work out a solution acceptable to all parties concerned. The Asian way was commended by President Xi Jinping in 2016 and was also emphasized by President Prabowo Subianto at the Shangri-La Dialogue in 2022, when he said, "We in Asia can address our differences in the Asian way." To stay on this path, we need to remain independent. Asia's modern history tells us that no country or region can grow and revitalize itself if it does not break the shackles of colonialization and gain full independence. For Asians, when speaking of independence, the first thing that comes to my mind is the city of Bandung. The Bandung Conference in 1955 marked the beginning of the new chapter where Asian and African countries started to take destiny in their own hands and pursue independent development. It was during this conference that President Sukarno declared that wherever, whenever, and however it appears, colonialism is an evil thing, and one that must be eradicated from the earth. It was also there that Premier Zhou Enlai from China delivered his speech by concluding that suffering from the calamities of colonialism is the common ground for the overwhelming majority of the Asian and African countries. This year marks the 70th anniversary of the Bandung Asian African Conference. And tomorrow, my colleagues and I will be visiting Bandung again to pay tribute to the great leaders who built the Bandung spirit. The Bandung spirit is the cornerstone of the norms governing international relations, which is still highly relevant in today's world as colonialism has evolved into new forms. 70 years ago, the common ground we sought was to shake off colonial rule and achieve national independence. What we seek today is to uphold fairness and justice. It is a must that we forward the Bandung spirit and take the future of our countries in our own hands. To stay on this path, we need to focus on development and people's livelihood. Governments can only win people's support when they deliver on their promises to achieve growth and prosperity for all. In this regard, China and Indonesia are good cases in point, giving priority to growing the economy and improving people's lives have won them high approval rates from the people. Both China and Indonesia put the well-being of their peoples first, and China, under the leadership of President Xi Jinping, has lifted 100 million people out of poverty with 8 years of tenacious efforts, realizing the poverty reduction goal of the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, 10 years ahead of schedule. Indonesia has also come a long way in improving people's livelihood over the past decade. Right after taking office, President Prabowo launched the free nutritious meal program. I still remember his words to my colleagues after he won the election. He said, "I don't need to be remembered by history. I only want my people to remember me for providing free, nutritious meals to our children." China and Indonesia have also had great stories of win-win cooperation. President Xi Jinping first put forward the vision of building the Maritime Silk Road during his speech at the Indonesian Parliament in 2013. The vision was conceived here and has borne fruit. The Jakarta-Bandung high-speed railway is a shining example. To construct it, $5.1 billion worth of raw materials were proudly locally, which had helped boost the local economy. It also cut short the travel time between the two cities from over, 3 hours. It should be more than 3 hours. Once I traveled from Jakarta to Bandung at 1 o'clock in the evening at midnight, and it took me exactly 6 hours. And when I got there, it was 7 o'clock in the morning. But now it takes only 40 minutes. Many Indonesians have posted on the social media to share their first ride. I'm also looking forward to my own whoosh experience tomorrow. 2025 is another year that we have a lot of expectations for China-Indonesian cooperation. China is expected to maintain a sound growth momentum. Indonesia, with the National Long-Term Development Plan 2025 to 2045, is striving to achieve an 8% growth economic growth rate. Let's implement the Global Development Initiative by better aligning the Chinese modernization drive with the Golden Indonesia 2045 vision to create even better lives for our two peoples. To stay on this path, we need to uphold the Asian values. This path has never been something imported, still less a result of simply copying any textbook. Rather, it takes root in and grows out of Asian history and culture. Both China and Indonesia believe that countries should respect their own culture and the culture of others. In the 15th century, the Chinese navigator Admiral Zheng He introduced Chinese architecture and painting to Asian and African countries and brought back foreign specialities and artifacts during their 7-day voyage to the Western Oceans. In Indonesia, thanks to the idea of harmony without uniformity, hallmark architectures of different religions, such as Borobudur temple compounds, the Istiqlal Mosque, the Prambanan Hindu temple, and the Jakarta Cathedral coexist in harmony for the people to appreciate. Both China and Indonesia advocate diversity and mutual learning. After Buddhism, Islam, and Christianity were introduced into China, there have never been so-called clashes of civilizations over religious wars. Instead, they have integrated and coexisted with the local culture, greatly enriching the Chinese civilization. Likewise, the National Museum of Indonesia not only showcases the unique charms of different regions, such as Java, Bali, and Papua, but also collects cultural relics from multiple countries, including China, the Netherlands, India, and Malaysia, symbolizing Indonesia's inclusive and diversified culture. It is precisely because of all these values and ideas that Asian countries have been able to understand each other and help each other succeed. Moving forward, let's work together to implement the Global Civilization Initiative and promote Asian values to make joint progress through respect and mutual learning. And to stay on this path, we also need to pursue common development of all Asian countries and the global South at large. as President Xi Jinping has put it on multiple international occasions, he said, a single flower does not make spring, while 100 flowers in full blossom bring spring to the garden. Our ultimate goal is to ensure that all countries in Asia and the Global South prosper. Indonesia once played a leading role in strengthening solidarity of Global South countries by playing host to the Bandung Conference. The BRICS welcomes Indonesia to be a new member. As a leading economy and the fourth largest population in the world, Indonesia will make the BRICS stronger. China stands ready, together with other members of the BRICS, to build closer partnership for greater BRICS cooperation and the modernization of the Global South. Dear colleagues, this year also marks the 75th anniversary of the establishment of China-Indonesian diplomatic ties. We look forward to working with the Indonesian government and people in following through on the important common understandings reached between President Xi Jinping and President Prabowo. We shall focus on building a China-Indonesian community with a shared future of regional and global influence, and taking the lead in pursuing the development path based on Asian values, so that together we make greater contribution to the building of a human community with a shared future. I thank you very much for listening, and the Chinese New Year is just around the corner. So taking this opportunity, I wish you all the best in the year of the snake. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Minister Liu, for your comprehensive speech. Maybe we're going to get to Indonesia-China bilateral relations, the 75 years, which is the context of your visit here, among others. But I'm quite interested to go deeper into what you said about the Asian values, the Asian context, and so on. Maybe I'll start with this question. Within Asia, only in Southeast Asia have they been able to reach a common vision about what the region should be in the form of the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation. Yeah. No such thing in Northeast Asia. No such thing in South Asia. And I don't think there's any such thing in Central Asia as well. So as we talk about an Asian architecture, is that realistic one day to expect that Asia, meaning Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, and Central Asia, and perhaps the Middle East, if we count that as Asia, will be able to develop some kind of common vision the way Africa has, yeah, the way Europe has, right? And the way Latin America has, yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Actually, when I refer to the Asian values, I basically refer to the values that have been upheld by people in our region. And by means of our region, I refer very much to the Southeast Asia. And I'm not really agreeing with you on saying that Northeast Asia is not part of the South, well, so different from the Southeast Asia, because I do believe East Asia as a whole share a lot of common values. But I think that all the values are basically shared by the international community, which we believe that there are common values across the world. But the unique thing about Asian value is that the spirit of consensus, the spirit of seeking consensus through consultation, the spirit of inclusiveness, the spirit of living in peace and harmony. So you see that the ethnic group or the nationality of the Japanese is the name of great harmony, 大和, which is Dahe Minzu means the Great Harmony ethnic group. So I think the sense or the value of harmony and consultativeness and inclusiveness are the unique values of the Asians. I'm not saying that it's not the value of Africa or other regions, but the priority, the most distinctive feature of the values here is this. And that's why proudly we, the people in East Asia, say that our part of the world have been basically free from major wars and conflicts in the last 80 years since the Second World War. This is hard won. We have only two major wars. One is the Korean War, and the other one is the Vietnam War. And you could see who was involved in these two wars. But ever since then, we don't really see major wars and conflicts among these Asian countries. And that's not something that comes easy. It's all based on the common values between us. And as for, you're talking about South Asia, you're talking about the Central Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. I do believe in common values among all these states and countries and peoples. And that's why we say we need a diversified world. We need exchange in civilizations and culture. And that's why we push forward with the initiative of global civilization. So we do hope that through these kind of exchanges and mutual learning and common pursuit of harmony and peace, I think this Asian stress, priority on our values will also prevail in the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister, one of the values that for Indonesia is critically crucial is non-intervention. When we formed ASEAN, that was a key principle. Treaty of Amity and Cooperation, that's a key principle. Asia-Africa Bandung Conference, which you mentioned, that's also a key principle. And I think I get the sense, as you know, I work in Western countries as a diplomat. One of the values that is comparatively less stress in the West, but more stress in the Asian context or Asia-Africa is on intervention. And what we read now is that there's more interventions around the world, including in the West, right? Including in the West. I'm just wondering do you think that non-intervention is ever more important than before? And has its context changed a little bit compared to 40 years ago?
Well, a very good point. I do see intervention in both ways. The change of intervention. On one part, many countries, including countries in the West, are looking more and more inward. So they focus more on their own business. But at the same time, we can also see expansion of the action of intervention. The constant conflicts and wars are a result of intervention. Intervention is a form of, I think so, kind of new form of colonialism in many ways. You can define new colonialism in many ways, but there are some basic features about it. So China, basically, we are against the intervention in other countries' internal affairs, and this is a principle that we're still holding dear to. And that is embodied in the Bandung Conference, Bandung Spirit, and is also embodied in the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. By non-intervention, I do believe that countries do need to learn from each other. And if you want the other countries to share with you their experience, well, the other country will be happy to do so. And this is a kind of positive interaction. But it's not coercive, it's not imposing, it's not lecturing or teaching. You don't have to follow, but you can hear and can listen. And China has always been opening our arms to foreign ideas, foreign expertise, foreign way of management, governance, but at the same time, we have to apply to all these experiences and know-how to our own national specifics. So we are never reluctant to learn, but we don't like to be lectured. And China will not ever lecture on others.
Minister Liu, I was watching a statement by King Abdullah of Jordan just recently, and he was talking about the impact of the war in Gaza. Yeah. And he said that this is creating a future where anybody can do whatever they want because there's no more standards, right? And there's big questions about the future of a rules-based world order, especially how can we apply it consistently, yeah? Because what it shows is that, look, if any country in the world outside Israel can bomb 40,000 civilians, mostly civilians, women and children, at will, right? That country would not get away with it, right? But this one country gets away with it and gets a lot of support from other countries, yeah. What is the future of this rules-based world order that we all want? Because I think it's a dangerous thing because people are going to say, look at what happened. Look at what happened in Gaza. We can do that too, right? And you can't criticize us without sounding hypocritical, right? So is that rules-based world order in danger now, despite the fact that we have the ceasefire recently achieved?
Mm-hmm. Well, that is really a serious situation when people are losing hope over the internationally acknowledged norms that has been failed to implement. Because, it's not that we don't have norms. It's not that we don't have international laws. We do have them. But the only way that all these norms and international laws universally acknowledged have been unable to work to its full efficiency. And more we are seeing double standards. We are hearing and be told about the narrative of the rule-based international order. And I do believe that these people who advocate or champion the rule-based international order, they have something behind or hidden, which is what are the rules? And the rules made by whom? And the only rules for China, and I believe that for the BRICS, is that the rules should be the UN Charter and norms governing international relations and international laws. So the dangerous part about it, of course, is that these norms having challenges in being implemented. So that's why we're seeing double standards here and there on the Ukraine crisis, on the Gaza conflict. It's sadly we've noticed the fact that there was a ceasefire eventually, but leaving 45,000 dead bodies behind. So I think that in order to achieve a solution to all the problems that we have, we need to uphold international norms, universally accepted. So I think that that's why we say that we need common values, common ideologies on all the challenges that have been disturbing, challenging the international community. So I believe that the global southern countries, we don't really hope to see the kind of double standards. We don't really want to see that international laws and norms being violated. But there's a long way to go to achieve this. But we should never lose hope, because I think that look at the BRICS. The BRICS, in terms of population, is going to make up around 45% of the world's population and 47% of the world's economic power. So I think that the strengthening of the global southern countries could make a difference. Thank you.
Minister, you mentioned about how relations in Asia have transformed in recent decades, including Indonesia-China relations. There was a point when trust was very low, and now trust is very high, relatively high, especially marked by comprehensive strategic partnership. China, I noticed, also have been active in the Middle East. You brokered the Saudi-Iran rapprochement, and in Palestine, you are actively pushing for national unity government between the factions in Palestine. And all this cannot be done unless there is trust, obviously, right? If you are distrusted, it could not be done. Actually, FPCI now is doing a documentary on strategic trust. So it's becoming a very interesting one. So my question to you is, what is your take on strategic trust? What is the lessons learned from how China is able to build or rebuild trust with Indonesia and establish new trust in faraway places in the Middle East?
Right. I think that the China-Indonesian relations is a very good example of trust lost and trust regained. So we started wonderfully in the 1950s when the two countries were among the first countries that established diplomatic relations right after our independence, well, Indonesia's independence and China's change of power, and the People's Republic came into being. So it was a wonderful start. And later on in the late 1950s and 60s, there were challenges in our countries. And seemingly the trust and confidence have been lost. But the spirit of resuming the friendship and good relations have never been lost, and people have never lost hope in China-Indonesian relations. So the right time, when the time has come, I think that the governments and people of our two countries lost no time in resuming the diplomatic relations, which happened in 1990. So ever since then, I think that gradually trust and confidence had been coming back. And then there was another difficult moment which took place during the financial crisis in Asia, and which really sabotaged the common understanding and trust between our countries. But that period was very short. So we were very thankful, and the Chinese people and Indonesian people should be thankful to the great leaders of the early transformation of this country. Several presidents, and then Indonesia has changed so many policies and brought about the political, economic, and social transformation, which really put Indonesia on the right track for a stronger development. And during all this process, in the past 25 years, China has always been with Indonesia and in the process of the growth of Indonesia. And confidence and trust and strategic trust have been effectively and usefully and significantly enhanced in the last 2 decades and a half. So now we are entering into a period when we do enjoy high level of trust and confidence, and that really helped pave the way for stronger economic and business relations between our countries. So look at the fact that China has been the largest trade partner of Indonesia and second largest foreign investor in Indonesia. And I'm sure that this will go on for the time to come, because I have really very busy conversations with the leaders of this country, including the president and ministers, And I got the very inspiring messages from them about a stronger China-Indonesian partnership. But strategic trust and confidence is also missing among many major powers in the world, and China and the United States, and even among the major powers with whom they share the same ideologies. So people are now taking a wait-and-see approach towards what is going to happen in the future. Political trust, strategic trust comes before many things. So I think that it will be advisable for strategists like your community and across the world to find the right definition on international relations, on country-to-country relations, bilateral, multilateral, so that their foreign policies will be placed and shaped I think that appropriately and correctly. So that takes a lot of dialogues and conversations and consultations. So as far as China is concerned, I think that we need, between China and Indonesia, we need to deepen our strategic dialogue. We should not only focus on the economic and business cooperation, we should strengthen the strategic dialogue, which I proposed to the political parties of this country, and which I got the positive response from these political parties. And the same thing is also needed for major powers, even between China and the United States. So I think in today's world, when the world is fraught with a lot of uncertainty and instability, politicians, statesmen, strategists, media people, and social organizations need to have more dialogues. Thank you.
Minister Liu, 2 days from now, there will be a new president in the United States. And, the Democrats and the Republicans don't agree on much. They almost disagree on everything, but one thing, which is how they see China. They see China as a rival. Even the word existential threat was mentioned in one of the hearings in Congress, and so on. How would you see Trump 2.0 administration? And I'm saying this because, I spoke with some of the Arab ambassadors, and they say, we don't mind Trump because he doesn't like war. There's no war under Trump, and so on. And with regard to China, some of my friends in DC said that, he bluffs, he talks, and he confronts, but basically he's a deal maker. And if he can achieve a deal with China, that's what he prefers, rather than having a permanent 4-year confrontation. And also said that Trump will be very different on Taiwan, that he is more likely to do anything to prevent escalation of tension across the Taiwan Straits relative to the present administration. So how do you see relations with Trump?
Yes, we worked with Donald Trump in his first term, and of course we saw a lot of difficult times and difficult issues between China and the United States during his first term. And that was a turning point of China-US relations. And I'm not really dwelling on what happened in his first term. And during Joe Biden's time, there were, the challenges remain. And then there were consensus between the President Xi Jinping and President Joe Biden on the need to stabilize the relationship as a result of the San Francisco meeting the year before last. And then dialogue had been resumed, consultations, talks, face-to-face meetings, and cooperations in some areas have been resumed. So there have been some positive trends in the relationship last year, but negative trends remained, difficulties remain, challenges are still there. And then the China-US relations will be handed over to President Donald Trump. Yesterday there was a telephone conversation between President Xi Jinping and President Donald Trump, and both of them put great emphasis on the importance of a relationship between China and the United States, because China is the largest developing country in the world and the United States the largest developed country in the world. So there's a strong need for the two countries to work together to address international challenges. But I think that China looks forward to a good start of the relations between China and the United States when Mr. Donald Trump came back to the White House. So I think that we need to have more dialogues, we need to have more consultations, we need to have more meetings and interactions between the two sides. But I believe that the telephone conversation was a good start. And then so many things remain to be done between the two countries. So we'll just work or do everything that we can that can keep the relations on a stable and healthy track. And we hope that a healthy relationship between China and the United States will be lasting, which is going to be good for the two countries, for our region, and for the world. You mentioned the Taiwan issue. Taiwan issue has always been stayed at the core of China-US relations. It has never been easy. But we do have guiding principles on the Taiwan issue between China and the United States. We do have agreements, we do have principles. And the principles are the principles that should be abided by the United States. And these principles are enshrined in the three joint communiques between China and the United States. So I think that the United States should fully honor its commitments to the principles enshrined in the three joint communiques, because the Taiwan issue, if not failed to be handled in the appropriate way, it could be a source of further disturbances and challenge. Thank you.
Minister Liu, I was in Washington, D.C. Just when President Bush, H.W. Bush, came to power. And his pre-inauguration stance on China was very hard. Yeah. And then he became president, and people expected him to be hard. But then the EPA incident took place. And what I noticed that even though the rhetoric from Washington was hard towards China, China did not reciprocate, right? You play your cards in a cool way, right? So FPC high hopes, even though the mood for confrontation would be high, that Beijing would be handling it as cool as possible. But what I want to ask you is, interesting question I always ask my American friends. Look, I know you got a problem with China, they're your adversary, they're this and that, they're your rival, threat even, and so on. What would be the metrics by which you would change that relationship for the better? And I could not get a straight answer. It seems that the goalpost is always being moved. Yeah. So I guess my question to you is, if the U.S. side, in my view, have a problem establishing what would be the metrics to resolve issues with China, to change mistrust to trust, from China's viewpoint, what would that require in order to improve the relationship?
I think that the challenging relationship between China and the United States is a result of the of the incorrect perception from the United States on China's development. They had a dream for successive administrations that China will change, and China will continue to change in the direction that is favored by the United States. And China has changed, and China has become stronger. But China has maintained its own social system, political system, not the kind of Washington system. And that seemed to be agonize so many people and make so many people in Washington and the United States lose hope. But China is China, the United States is the United States. China and the United States can both grow, can both be successful in their own ways. And by developing their own ways, does not really entail the kind of conflict between the two countries. Because as the past more than 4 decades of relationship between China and the United States, both sides have benefited from this relationship. You know, that some people in Washington says that, you know, that we help China to grow, and, you know, we help China grow up, grow stronger, and that is against American interest. You know, the very first word that President Nixon landed in the Beijing airport, he was saying, I'm here for the interests of the United States. So for all the administrations of the United States, you know, they are serving the interests of the United States and the American people. And we, the Chinese government, have been doing the same. But it does not really follow that, you know, we are natural, adversaries and enemies. So we can still continue to grow with the, you know, if China and the United States could really cooperate with each other. So we would hope to see that China-US relations to continue to grow under the principle of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation.
Thank you. Minister Liu, you mentioned about BRICS earlier, and Indonesia has been accepted as a full member of BRICS. There have been some questions in Indonesia, maybe concern. Hey, there's a new grouping, and we're a full member, but what if we become only a junior partner? Because China is so big, and Russia, and so on, and India is big, and so on. And to be honest, for Indonesians, that is something we don't really talk openly, but we think all the time. Because when we did the East Asia Summit, and I know because I was part of the process, it was 10 plus 3 originally, right? ASEAN plus the 3, China, Japan, and Korea, right? But then Indonesia pushed for Australia, New Zealand, and India to come in. So it becomes 16, and so on. The point is, the thinking of not becoming a junior partner in any grouping is important for us. So the question is with BRICS, how can it be guaranteed that Indonesia will not be a junior partner? And secondly, can we guarantee that BRICS will not be a geopolitical grouping? Right? I mean, G7 is an economic grouping, but it's also a very geopolitical grouping. And if BRICS becomes that, then its value becomes very different to Indonesia, and which is not intended to be. Yeah. So, your response?
I think all the members of the BRICS warmly welcome Indonesia's participants, because we had been waiting for a long, long time for Indonesia to join. And because we believe that Indonesia has all the makings to become a full member of the G20. Of the BRICS. And also you are a member of the G20. So Indonesia is by no means junior. It's one of the most influential countries in this region and in the world. Your economy is big, your population is big, you are a member of the G20, and you are a leading member of the ASEAN, you are a leading member of the East Asian Cooperation. And you are by no means junior in the BRICS. Actually, you are a very strong partner for all the BRICS members. We don't judge countries' influence and their contribution by judging their size and population. So countries, well, that are not that big in terms of economic power, capacity, like Egypt, is small, but it's such a country of great influence in the Middle East. South Africa, a leading country now in Africa, and Indonesia is now the only member of the BRICS among the ASEAN countries. So I think that all the members will be very much willing to work with Indonesia, because I do believe, and I think all the other members will have the same belief, that without Indonesia, the BRICS is not complete. So we are expecting Indonesia to play a significant role in the BRICS. Second, I think what the notion that really stopped Indonesia from joining the BRICS earlier was the fact that they believe that BRICS is used as a tool of geopolitical competition. So I was talking to some of your former colleagues about this, and they were saying, we have to think about it, whether we should join or not. But I think that this is the right decision. The BRICS is never a geopolitical competitor for anybody. I think that the BRICS are the most strong members of the Global South. So I believe that it will play a very significant role in steering the development of the direction for the development of the Global South. And without the BRICS, I don't really believe that the international order would be an effective one. I think the majority of the BRICS are also members of the G20. So we can make a difference in terms of making or achieving a more fair and reasonable international structure and architecture in today's world. So, but we don't want to compete with anybody. We don't want to combat with anybody. We don't want to enter into any kind of geopolitical competition with any other countries. But at the same time, I think it's the common aspiration of the BRICS members to continue to have dialogues, collaboration, partnership with, say, the groups like the Europe and the United States and Japan and Australia and New Zealand. So I think that this is, what we aim at. But together, I think that the BRICS will be stronger, and our voice will be louder, and our positions will be taken more seriously, and then, we are in a better position to improve the architecture of the world, to make this world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give a big hand to Minister Liu for this part of conversation. Now I'd like to open up the floor for questions. And the rule is very simple. I don't want a speech. I want a question. And secondly, I don't want a question that is A, B, C, D. I just want one question from you. Okay? I'll get the gentleman in the middle there with the blue batik shirt. Yeah. I'd like to get a lady. Yes, that lady on the left over there, right? And our diplomat friend, yes, please. Can you quickly claim your spot? Yeah. And then Tika, I need that lady. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Kasih apa namanya? Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you. 你好, Liu Jianchao 给谁? 我叫 Andika Nugroho from State University of Semarang. I think there are questions here that I think pretty much shares the same sentiment as Mr. Jalal's question, But I think I would like to take it in the concerns of the grassroots, specifically in Indonesian people. Now, Indonesia has already recently been accepted as the member of BRICS, which is simply a forum of economics. Now, and also the main essence of BRICS is also the sovereignty and independence through economic means. Now, with the question is, considering that from what I've seen is the trade and also the trade relations with Indonesia and China, it comes from an influx of Chinese goods and supplies that some of local business in Indonesia have some concerns regarding the competition. Now, the question is, how will BRICS handle this kind of issue that both China and Indonesia still have that same kind of economical sovereignty, especially in the local grassroots, considering that in BRICS, to ensure that no one is out-compete another, to make sure that it's not just China that benefits the trade relations, but also Indonesia has the sovereignty to benefit the trade relations itself. Thank you.
Okay, lady.
Good morning.
Give the microphone also next to the our friend from Iran. Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Dino Patijal, and also thank you for such a fruitful conversation for this morning. My name is Indah Lestari. I'm from Laboratorium Indonesia 2045. It's a think tank from Indonesia. So my question is, I want to know if it's impossible, perhaps all the audience in this room also want to know more about the possibility form of cooperation or assistance from China related to our free nutritious meals program. Thank you.
Okay, lady from Iran.
Good morning, Excellency, Minister of China, and Dr. Dino. First of all, I should thank you for holding this valuable conversation. You went just a few days after passing away your father, Hashim Jalal, and please accept my deepest condolences. His Excellency, Minister of China, I just wanted to know, in your opinion, how will be the relation between Indonesia and China during Trump's presidency? Thank you so much.
Okay, please. So we'll take those three questions and then we'll go on to the second batch.
Thank you very much for all your questions. I think you got really good applause from the audience. So I think that maybe you have consultations among yourselves about what questions that they can do ask to me. But anyway, good questions, and thank you very much indeed. About how the BRICS should, what the BRICS could do, to solve to address the issues that might take place between member countries, including trade and investment and the balance of trade. I think that basically the mission or the mandate of the BRICS is really to work together for issues, for agendas that are universally acknowledged for the humanity. So I think that the BRICS have been focused their efforts on issues of peace, on issues of economic development, on issues of green development, on people-to-people exchanges. So basically, I think the BRICS really work together to formulate consensus on how the BRICS could really work together to make each and everybody and every member stronger. So that's why they have tried to influence, to introduce many policies, and including financial cooperation. So I think to expect the BRICS to play a role in balancing trade and investment between the member states would be a little bit too much for the BRICS, because each and every country has their own agenda, and each and every country have their own complaint about, for example, in your words, you're talking about trade between China and Indonesia. And I think that we have similar problems between the member states of the BRICS, for example, China and India. And the trade imbalance is even bigger. So I think that for issues relating to trade and investment between China and Indonesia, I think that it will be better be done by bilateral consultations and discussions. But I think that my idea is not that negative, because we have been working tremendously hard to expand the relationship between the economic and trade relations between China and ASEAN as a whole, for the utmost possible balance of trade between the two sides. China and ASEAN introduced the free trade agreement as early as the year 2000. And I think that was then it was started by the early harvest arrangement between China and ASEAN, which means that China will start to import the ASEAN products, particularly agricultural produce and fruits and vegetables from ASEAN at a zero tariff. And that lasted for about 10 years. And then it's true that Chinese products are coming to ASEAN countries 10 years later. And that's the natural development. This is one. And second, we don't really pursue a kind of trade surplus with any other country in the world. But we believe that the kind of trade is based on the market rules, supply and demand. For these items, if you don't import from China, you have to import from other countries. And to some extent, import from another country and competition from another country is good for the development, high-level development of your own country. China was not that developed. China was not born a manufacturer. China was not born an exporter. China was born from a very weak and fragile background in terms of its industrial capability. So, but even in around the year 2000, when China was not that advanced, when China was not that strong in manufacturing, China decided to join the WTO, to follow the WTO rules. And there was a very big debate in China that foreign products will be pouring into China at the cost of China's industries, including the automobile industry and our agriculture. For example, at that time, we just started with our automobile industry, and we were not making so many cars. But then we began to have, Toyota, Honda, Mercedes, you name it, from other countries. But now China is the largest automobile producing country in the world. And China is now the largest EV cars in the world. So that's the result of competition. You have to be competing to be strong. You don't just have to wait, to grow naturally. And you're not going to be competitive in today's world. And that should not be the quality of a country that is a member of the BRICS. You have to have a fighting spirit. You have to be strong. And to keep the country open and to collaborate with other countries. So I think that and China fully opened its market to the international business people at the very early time of the reform and opening up policy back in 1978. At that China was extremely poor at that time. 40 years on, things have changed. And I'm sure that the same thing will happen in Indonesia. And second, when you look at the trade, you have also to look at investment. Investment from China now goes up very quickly. And China is now the second biggest foreign investor, as I said, in Indonesia. And investment could bring about job opportunities, taxation, revenues, and technical know-how. So I think this is something that is noticeable, and that's something that should be well judged and determined, when you collaborate with other countries. So keep a competing spirit, keep a fighting spirit, and keep competing and to grow. Second, about the free nutritious meal, very ambitious program, and that really shows the commitment of President Prabowo on improving the people's livelihood. Because the bad thing about malnutrition, the bad thing about lack of food, lack of good food for children, will result in the slow development of the brains, and that happened to a number of countries. So I think that President Prabowo really hit the nail right on the head, because he was caring about the future of this country, the children. So I think that's a very, very ambitious program. But I advise with a lot of respect that Rome was not built in a day, and this program will not be realized when it was launched. It will take a long time for it to be fully launched, as our efforts, China's efforts in eradicating poverty. It took us so many years, decades, to lift people out of poverty. But we never lost hope. We just continue pushing forward with our strong commitments to the eradication of poverty. And China and the Chinese companies are really very aware of the need of the Indonesian people in this program. So some of the Chinese companies have already started working with the Indonesian government and local governments in doing what they can to help. Yesterday, I organized some very modest donations to the Galinda party. So we donated a full set of kitchenware, and then it will be able to provide 500 meals a day to the Indonesian children. So that was a modest donation, and I think that the Chinese business people will do more. But what is more important is that we should try to learn from each other on what could be the best way to move about this. Because when China was stricken with poverty, we also had this problem. It's not that we did not really have nutritious food. Some areas were just lacking in food. So, it will take a lot of efforts to solve this problem. So we will welcome the cadres of the political parties of this country to talk to the local authorities in China and to exchange views on how to move forward with this program. And China will be very happy to share our experiences. So we will certainly welcome government officials, party cadres to be in China, and we can share with you. And China-Indonesian relations during the time of the presidency of President Donald Trump. Good question. It seems to be a funny question, but it's a serious question. Because when Dr. Dino was talking about intervention, there could be different kinds of intervention. And one of the ways of intervention would force other countries to take sides in international relations. China does not do that, and China does not want that. And I believe that Indonesia, which cherishes independence, sovereignty, will never be used as a tool in major power competition. So I think I don't really see too much influence in the presidency of Donald Trump in China-Indonesian relations, because we do share, as we talked about, the strategic trust and confidence between us. And we'll continue to build on the ground of this for a strengthened and more powerful China-Indonesian relations. And as for security architecture in our region, China is against the military blocs. China is against the competition and confrontation between military blocs. Some countries in the world believe in military blocs. They believe that with military blocs, the world will be safer, they themselves will be safer. But look what is happening in the world. In our region, in ASEAN, and China is concerned, we are not entering into any kind of military blocs. And we are safe. And we are seeing NATO, and during Cold War times, we are seeing Warsaw Pact, but Europe has never been safe. So I think Indonesia cherishes the spirit of non-alignment, 1,000 friends and 0 enemy, and that is the right approach. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I go to the second batch, I have one quick question for you, Mr. Minister Liu. Now it's 2025, and I remember about 15 years ago when China announced their Made in China 2025. And to be honest, I was in the US back then, and that program was dismissed or underappreciated, because they said it's just a gimmick. China would never do these things. And then in the next 15 years, China invested hundreds of billions to achieve this program. And as a result, China now is at the forefront of quantum computing, AI, robotics, and all these technological frontiers. So my question now, what's next after 2025? I know you talked about 2045, but what are the things that we should expect in terms of frontiers?
Thank you. It's good that I still remember the 2025 initiative. We did have that, but that seems to have aroused concerns from some European countries and the United States. It's just a program. It's where China is heading for and how China's commitments and efforts, endeavor could be organized in making China a strong country in terms of innovation, in terms of industrialization, in terms of modernization. So it's actually nothing to be worried about. But in order to, make people less concerned, less worried about it, we do a lot of explanations. So I think that, but what is for sure, that China will continue to grow. And the growth of China will serve the interest and the inspiration and the expectations of the Chinese people. And the growth of China will conform to the common interest of the growth of the international community. Because for all these years, as many as 10 years, as China has been contributing to the growth of the economy with a scale of 30%. So that should be taken note of. Without China's development, I don't really see strong international global economic recovery or development. But our target and our strategy is very clear and is very transparent, and is known to the rest of the international community, which you could very well detect and locate in the third plenum session of the 20th Party Congress. And the resolution of that plenum session was on furthering and deepening reforms to push forward with China's modernization drive. So we introduced 369 items of reform policies in that single document. And all these 369 items of reform policies are expected to be completed by the year 2029, that is 5 years from now on. And that is going to be a game changer in China's means of development and ways of development. And that will make China stronger in terms of innovation, in terms of education, in terms of the number of people, talented people that we can generate. So, and then it's not for China's own growth. China is ready to share what we have achieved with our neighboring countries, Indonesia is included, and to anybody that is interested in China's capability of growth. So that's why we say that we encourage and advocate a liberal and free international trading system, real multilateralism, real economic globalization. So all the countries should keep their doors open. So there should be no small yard and high fences. There should not be cages. There should not be embargoes. There should be no restrictions, because they are against the norms and rules of the World Trade Organization, against the narrative of a global trading system. So I think that our goal is very clear. And through these reforms, we will push forward with the modernization drive. And with this modernization drive, we'll try to achieve our second centennial agenda, which will try to put China into a modernized country by the year 2049, which has happened to be the 100th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. I'll take 2 questions only because we are limited in time. I see, okay, Ishana, I see Ishana, and then I'll take the gentleman. Why don't I take the student in the red coat? You've been very excited to ask questions. So, all right, Ishana and gentleman in the red coat. Yeah.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, Your Excellency and Pak Dino. My name is Ishana from President University in Cikarang, West Java. I have one question only. I see that you served as the ambassador of China to Indonesia back in 2012 and 2013. And my question would be, during that time, Jakarta was having a gubernatorial election that saw Joko Widodo and Basuki Cahayapurnama, aka Ahok, running and then later on winning. And then if you guys remember, back then there were lots of sentiments towards Ahok running for deputy governor. And then, yeah, the sentiments were also regarding the Chinese Indonesians. And I was wondering if the Embassy of China under your leadership was carrying the brunt of that. And if so, and if you did, how did you overcome it? How did you deal with that? Thank you very much.
The young man.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Gilang. I'm from FPCI Chapter Business. Thank you so much for picking me, Pak Dino. All right, so my question is, in the book that we were given, I was introduced to the concept of top-level design, which is China's unique concept of common prosperity. So, as BRICS works towards creating a more inclusive global order, how do you see the principles behind China's top-level design influencing the group's broader goals? And how does it play in fostering sustainable development, particularly in emerging economies like Indonesia? Thank you.
Thank you. With the first question, I was really honored to be posted as ambassador to this great country back in 2012. But it was a shame that my tenure was just too short, as long as 2 years. But I was so happy that I made so many friends here in Indonesia, including Ibu Mari and so many ministers and people from the religious circle, people from the universities, and people from the business. So I was really honored to be ambassador in this country. And actually, after I left my posting, I was still following the development of relations between our 2 countries with great inspiration, with great excitement, because I could really see the relationship was moving and growing from strength to strength, truly strength. It's not rhetoric. When I was here, I worked mostly with President SBY. By the time I left, Mr. Jokowi was not really announcing that he was running for presidency. At that time, he was still the governor of Jakarta. And when I was bidding farewell to him, I was saying, what is her plan? When are you going to visit China? And he was telling me maybe next year. That he was talking about 2015, because there's a sister city relationship between Beijing and Jakarta. And he was telling me that he was visiting Beijing in the capacity of the governor of Jakarta. And I was being a little bit naughty, and I said to him that maybe you don't really have to wait that long to be in China, because the APEC is going to be convened in China this year. And then he jumped up with a question, when will that happen? I said in November. And then I decided that he had a will to win, despite the fact he was not announcing it. But it's good. We have to pay tribute to President Jokowi for his strong commitment to a strong partnership between China and Indonesia. He had done so much in strengthening the political trust and confidence between our two countries, to strengthen the partnership between our two countries, not only in business, not only in investment, but to people relations as well. You know what? Indonesia is the second largest country that enrolled Chinese students. I'm not too sure about the first country in Asia. So that's a kind of demonstration of the strong people-to-people exchanges, and also tourists come to this country. And also the good feelings towards each other. The Chinese people are having a very warm feeling towards the Indonesians, and I'm sure that it's the other round also. So I think that we don't take things for granted. It's the leadership of President Xi Jinping and President Jokowi during the last decade. Now we are entering a new phase of China-Indonesia relations, and which is going to be steered by President Xi and President Prabowo. So we have a lot of expectations for that. And we were very much inspired that President Prabowo visited China twice last year. Once was right after he won the election, and the other time was when he got inaugurated. So that really showed how much emphasis he put on China-Indonesia relations. So we are confident with that. And the second question, I'm not too sure that I caught you correct, but it's basically how China, Indonesia, and other BRICS members should design for the common growth among these countries. I'm sure there have been established design of the growth and development of the BRICS process. But we wish to have the contribution of Indonesia. And I'm sure that Badino will have a lot of wisdom to put in this process. So we are very much looking forward to the contribution of Indonesia, not only with your economic strength, but with your tremendous wisdom. Thank you very much.
Maybe a final light personal question for me, Minister Liu. You were working for the foreign ministry, the government, and now you work for the CPC.
Yes.
So, which one gives more holidays, and do you get bigger car or smaller car, more working hours or less working hours? What's the difference?
So what is holidays?
I think you answered the question.
But I do enjoy every part of my job. You know, I don't choose I just try to do things well, whatever job I'm assigned to.
Spoken like a true diplomat. Let's give a big hand to Minister Liu. Yeah. Thank you. I think we have a gift for you, right?
Yes,
please.
Pak Dino and also Minister Liu. Yes, we will hand over a token of appreciation to the minister from FPCI.
What is this? Oh, this FPCI jacket.
An FPCI jacket
I see.
with your name, Minister.
The embroidery of the three water ethnic group in China. So it's you know that you once gave a speech on Indonesian design when you were ambassador to the United States.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll have a picture between Pak Dino and Minister Liu once again. Yes, on the stage. Camera ready.
All right, in 3, 2, 1. And for the audience in the center, could you please take your seats and we'll get a shot from the camera in the back. 3, 2, 1. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause. Thank you to His Excellency Minister Liu Jianchao, Pak Dino, and to everyone for your active participation.
With that, we have come to an end of our special conversation with His Excellency Liu Jianchao on Asia's future and 75 years of Indonesia-China ties. Thank you to all participants who have joined us today and to participate actively in this Saturday morning.
We thank you and we hope to see you again at our future events. 谢谢。